It's blue. It's cold. I'm picking up a new toy. It's not arcade related for a change. It's another synthesizer. It's a Yamaha DX21. It's a little sister of the Yamaha DX7. Different but the same. This one is interesting. It's actually one when I picked up the DX7 last year in summer, I was actually looking at the DX21 and the guy never got back to me. That was back in France. And came up then this DX7 at a car boot sale for pretty much the same price. Like, it was super cheap. So I picked that up. And I was trolling through local ads just before Christmas, and this came up for just about €100. So I just offered what the guy wanted. There's a couple of issues with the keys, not springing back and that kind of stuff. I think the battery's dead as well, but it's nothing I haven't dealt with before, and for €100 I can't say no. So let's go. And here it is, the DX21. I've put it just beside the DX7 here, which is sort of permanently rigged into my system here. But it's actually bigger than I thought it would be. It's substantially smaller than the DX7. It's essentially the same keyboard layout, same width, but it's it goes in a bit further, so they've saved some space on the side. The pitch and mod wheel are actually on the top here. Even this part is considerably smaller, so we're missing this section, but it's not that much smaller. If I'm honest, I thought it would be a lot smaller. It's quite a chunky synth. So there's a few differences, between those two. But essentially, it comes to this guy being a 6-operator FM synth, and this one only has 4 operators. The interesting thing you can do with this is you can actually split the instruments. You can have one playing the bass, for example, and one playing piano or lead or whatever you want here. The controls, actually, that's always been the annoying thing for a lot of people. Those membrane buttons here, we've proper little buttons. It's not backlit, so I might have to do that mod. Cosmetically, it's okay. It's missing, so I think, which one is it? It's this key here, or is it this one? No, it's this one. So this key sometimes gets stuck. It plays, but you really have to press down. So I'm going to need to open it and fix that. All the other keys are fine. You can see cosmetically there's a lot of dirt on this, and I'm going to have to clean this thoroughly anyway. Here is some varnish of some sort. I'm going to have to remove that. I removed one of them here, a big trace. I had to use just a very, very sharp blade like this, and just actually really try to remove it, because I can't dissolve it with anything, and I don't want to damage anything on the keys. So there's some here and some here as well. It looks like it's been burnt here. That's a burn mark, probably a cigarette burn or something like that. It feels like something has burnt this. Or is it just more? Oh, it could be more of that. It could be more of that residue that's actually caked on here, and somebody had a fingerprint on it. That's what it looked like. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. So I'm gonna have to clean that then as well. There's a few scuffs here, paint missing, but that doesn't bother me too much. And it's missing a few all the caps, these guys, for the faders. So all of them are missing. I'm sure I can find them on eBay, but this one has the top of the tab is broken, so might have to replace that fader altogether. But it's working. I actually tested it. All the patches are still there, so the battery is okay. I might need to change that and redo the patches. I'm not going to keep the stock patches on this, because I have far better patches on this, but I'm actually going to get some custom patches here. So no time was wasted taking this apart. So there's a screw. It opens from the back, from the bottom, so just flip it over, and the screw's there, and then just make your way through. It's simple enough. Just if you're confused with connectors, just take pictures to where they are, matching colors when you put them back. But so this is what we've got here. This is the main board here. It looks cosmetically fine. I know it works anyway. So I've taken out the LCD as well. The way you remove this is actually it's glued like that, and there's 2 strips of adhesive. So you need to sort of go at it very slowly, very gently with a sharp knife blade, with a cutting blade, and just remove that. So I'm gonna change that with a 1602. The only problem is they're a bit smaller, so the form factor is a bit different. Not for the screen, but for the PCB. And I think these guys are here. So there's a few changes. I did a video already for the RX17 on changing the screen. It's the same type of screen, 1602 LCD you replace them with. And there's a few little jumpers you need to set, wires, sorry, you need to set, because it's got more pins, so you need to set ground and +5 to 2 of the pins on the other side. I'll show you all that, but I did a video on it already. The only real trouble is I'm gonna have to find a way to make it fit in the same position, so I might have to maybe use I have extra PCB, sort of blank PCB panels, so I might use those. Cut one of those just to make it match. We'll see. The slider, so yeah, as you can see, this guy here is gone. I don't have any on hand, but I've ordered one. It's a 10K slider, B-type, and that's for data entry. So I'm gonna replace that, and I have some knobs for the sliders ordered as well. And the last bit of trouble was this, well, the key. So the keyboard. So if you look here, the way this works is when you press a key, there's a little kind of thing that comes down and presses on a rubber membrane. So every key has those, and as you can see, they're quite sharp, actually, surprisingly sharp. I thought it'd be round, but they have that V shape, and essentially they press onto this, and because of the shape of this, it pushes this little conductive, maybe is it carbon, something like that, but conductive thing that actually bridges, let me zoom, these guys here. Problem with that keyboard is that over time you can see the wear and tear here, and here is the worst affected one. So over time it starts kind of chewing into it, and you can see the damage. I can actually just run my this guy into it, so it creates holes. But in the case of this guy, the damage just goes all the way over. Come on, focus a little bit better. Well, this is essentially completely gone. So that V-shaped thing has to push forward, like even more through, to actually push the thing on the other side. This is actually a hollow tube, and because of the shape, whenever you push here, it sort of reflects the push there, and it just makes contact easily. But in the case of that key, it's too far gone. So I need either a replacement, and I looked online and I couldn't find one. I found a double strip one, but this one is a single strip of whatever carbon we're gonna say, a conductive black, and I couldn't find one of this type. The 2-strip one is available, but it's much larger. So I'm gonna try a few things. There's either I could actually try to, and I think I'm just gonna try all options at once, but either find some form of glue, rubber glue, or maybe a wetsuit like neoprene glue. I have some of that, or maybe it's gone. I need to order some, so it'd be a good occasion. But it's good for, because it's very flexible, and it's good for plastic, neoprene, rubber, anything like that. And so it should provide some bonding for what's broken here, some structural strength as well. That's what we want to restore here. The other thing I can do is also to prevent pressure being applied to the same spot again and again, is actually to flip that over. First, it'll prevent, yeah, this guy will be now here, which is it actually bang on the note? No, it's actually overlapping. So it'll prevent pressure and wear and tear being applied exactly to the exact same spot all over again. That might be an option as well. All right, so I had a little idea for this. My initial idea was to use some rubber glue or some wetsuit glue actually. Not rubber glue, might be too rigid, but wetsuit glue might work. But then I'm thinking, I'm putting, you know, plastic on plastic, especially glue. It's hard to tell how it will behave in time. It might deteriorate, it might be fine, but I'm no chemist. So sometimes, especially for long-term stuff, so sometimes it's best not to use extra chemicals, especially bonding stuff. Anyway, so what I did is I actually have these little bits of heat shrink tubes, and they're actually just the right size to go in there, because that's a hollow tube in there. So I ended up sliding, and you can see the color here, one of them here, just to add a little bit of extra rigidity. I've added just a little section of it here, and I'll see if that works, and then I might try one here, because this one is pretty much on its way out as well. All right, great news. So I have everything plugged in. I have the main board here, the LCD display and everything. So everything is there plugged in, and I just tested it. You can't quite hear it, but it's this key here. But it's working. My worry was that it would be too rigid and it would actually make contact with the other keys, but that's not the case. I can hear each key separately, and I'm not noticing anything different in terms of feel. No, it's about right. So that's great news. So I'm going to do the same on the other little bits that are looking dodgy, and cool. That's our membrane fix. I'm delighted, because I just couldn't find a replacement anywhere, and it seems that all the replacement we find are those double membranes, but not for this. So that's great. All right, next it's time to address the LCD. So I'm using one of these guys that I got off eBay. You can get these for very cheap. They're whatever, 1602, something like that. I forget exactly. Yeah, 1602A modules. You find them very cheap on eBay for, or even AliExpress for a couple of dollars. So don't spend much more than that. And you can find actually just a ready kit, but they are very expensive. So yeah, just get one of these. So the only thing you need to do here is just put a few headers, these type of headers on it. I think some of the versions come with them, or you can buy them ready to be soldered. The only difference is this has 16 pins, whereas this one has 14. So what you need to do in this case is just to take pin 1, you see the black lead there, and connect that to pin 16, and take pin 2 and connect that to pin 15. And these aren't really connected, but they're needed for this module. Other than that, the pinout is the same, so that's about it. We'll just need to do something on pin 3, and that's just to set the brightness. So what I did before is I used a 2 or 3K resistor. Here we're just going to connect a small pot, so we can actually set the brightness as we want it. So I'll do that afterwards once it's connected. It'll require just cutting the lead on the connector, but that's no big deal. So the only trouble is that this is a different size. Oops, yeah, so this is a slightly different size. So to make it match in the mounting panel here, we could technically push it here or make it match here, but it's not going to quite, it's not going to quite align with the rest of the boards and the rest of the panel. So what I've done is I've used one of my Eurorack prototyping PCB. Before we continue, I'd like to thank PCBWay for supporting this video. They offer PCB manufacturing and part assembly, but they also offer other services like CNC metal sheet fabrication, 3D printing, and even injection molding. Essentially a one-stop service for all your projects. So go to PCBWay.com, upload your project files, and get an instant quote. And thank you very much to them for sponsoring this video. Anyway, I took one of my Eurorack prototyping PCBs, just cut it to shape here. This is why these are very handy for all sort of purposes. So it would actually slot right in there. It doesn't need to be very precise, but more importantly that it would align with the holes here, so I can mount this on this little little mounting plate. What I need to do is actually slide the original PCB under here, this slot and this slot. Like so. So essentially all I need to do is just put 2 screws here and here, and I can put this straight back into my DX21. Anyway, so we're going to put this back in. We'll deal with the pot for brightness when we put everything back together, but we need now to handle the missing or the broken slider. So I have a new slider pot here for the one that was broken. This one is metal and slightly taller, but it should do just fine. I might need to maybe Dremel out a little bit. We're going to put the little cover, and I think at this stage we've pretty much addressed everything, so we can put this back together. All right, so I'm starting to put things back together. It's easy to put all the connections. They're actually, because they're tied together, you sort of know where everything is going easily. The only thing is, because there's no key now to this connector, just make sure that you plug it the right way. So ground should be on this side here, and don't really follow the colors, because I noticed the colors are different depending on what type of keyboard as well. In this case it's brown, is ground, but might not be always. What I've done is I've cut a pin tree here, which is our brightness, and I've just put a 5K pot, I think it is. So I'm going to drill a little hole just right here. Well, thank you, that's my multimeter. And then I'm going to trim that slider. That's the one here. I'm going to trim that slider once we've got everything flipped back over. All right, we got pretty much everything back together. It's just that's a bit too bright. There you go. Yeah, that's super handy actually to have just a brightness control. I should have done that on my DX7. Everything seems to work. How about the data entry, master tune? Yeah. And this was the key. This was the key causing trouble, and yeah, it's not affecting any other key. So that's perfect, working. Next thing we need to do is just put those guys back in place. Oh, gorgeous. There we are, back working, and actually cleaned. It needed a good clean, and everything is working now. Perfect. I think we're done. That's a cheap DX21 that was just dirty and had a bad membrane, missing pots and missing knobs. But there you go, folks. Thank you for watching.